Hi, I'm Armand Coney. Welcome back to our show. And Lee Kemp, I'm in his studio in Washington, D.C. at RT.
Near my studio. My studio is not the White House, but...
Well, it should be. Lee is a guy that I met actually a year ago this month after getting arrested in a Senate hearing. And so I don't watch his show, and I would prescribe that you do the same thing. You study his show and you let your friends understand it.
Because, you're about to say you don't watch my show. I was like, that's such an insult up top.
No, you have to watch his show because Trevor Noah is not cutting it, all right? This is the man that is the future. He's bringing the hard news to you. He's making you laugh, and he's making you think about it. Lee Kemp.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That was the best intro I've ever gotten.
Really? Well, it gets better, all right? So let's just, you've been doing your show for 2 years now. You have Redacted Tonight.
Yes.
And you have VIP Redacted, where you get special guests like Jesse Ventura on the show and you interview them.
Yeah.
The thing that someone like me wants to understand is if you talk to yourself 5 years ago, what would you tell yourself? What have you learned in the last 5 years that's like the key? Because you work your butt off.
Oh, God. I'd give myself the talk that people give young kids that are having a rough time. It gets better.
It gets better.
It gets better.
But,
no, it's 5 years. It's amazing how much has changed. I had given up the idea of ever really being on TV, even though I did comedy, which, a lot of comedians want to go to TV. That's their plan and everything. And I had given up that idea because everything I was talking about was anti-corporate, anti-war. It was not the stuff that is allowed on even the quote-unquote left-wing news channels. So I had, there's basically nowhere that wants something that insults their advertisers.
Did the world have to get bad enough to appreciate your comedy?
Yeah, maybe there's some of that. There's some of that. The world had to sink down to my level. No, really, it had to. It had to do with the fact that I ended up on one of the very few networks that doesn't have advertisements, and so therefore there aren't corporate sponsors. And without that, the fact that I'm here is amazing.
Well, I wrote a piece about a year ago that you and people like you are what people should start watching. The counter narrative, the non-mainstream media, and these people who have worked their butt off on bringing policy with comedy together are now giving us the information that we need to know. Did you know do you see this bubbling up? I feel like I'm interviewing one of the Ramones, back in the early 70s, or Iggy Pop. Do you see this happening?
I'd love to think that we are on a steady rise, and I think that, if you look at the movements around America, it does seem like people are starting to get outside of the mainstream media. We could get into details about what's good and bad about Bernie Sanders, but the fact that people are going for so many people want a candidate that the mainstream media has just ignored, has just blatantly said he's not one of us, he's not in our corporate mind space, and so therefore we will sideline. If you look at the amount of coverage, it's like Trump is through the roof, Hillary is about a third of Trump, and then Bernie Sanders is nothing. And the fact that America is able to get enough information outside of that mainstream media in order to understand that there are other candidates, and of course I'd love to see other candidates such as Jill Stein also start to get into those talking points and that discussion. But it's amazing how much has changed over 5-10 years. So.
The thing that Lee brought to think in terms of framework when you're listening to people, and I don't want to embarrass somebody who's a genius, but when you're talking to a genius, think in terms of how do they frame this conversation. And the thing that he said a year ago and that made me look through a different filter is, he didn't say it this way, but watch how they're not talking about how we live in a consumer state. How much everything that we're doing is about buy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now...
So that's something I said. So I just had Peter Joseph on Redacted Tonight VIP, and he is the creator of the Zeitgeist movement. And one of the things I said to him was, I hear people talk about, advertising isn't really that influential on us, whether it's for the Democrats or Republicans, whether it's for a type of brand of Coke or whatever, brand of soda, because, there's other ads that are conflicting those ads. The problem is, what people don't notice is all those ads are saying one thing. they're all saying buy. They're all saying buy into this system, buy into this thought paradigm, buy into the fact that you have to have either Coke or Pepsi or one of the others we're giving you. They're all saying the same thing, and yet people are like, oh no, they're not that influential. People take in thousands of ads a day and brand names and everything, and it is hugely influential. It's why America is one of the most depressed countries, because we are taking in just massive, punishing influence on our minds, and ads influence you whether you understand the manipulative or not. They still influence you. So
this is okay. I'm having a moment here, but I'm going to ask him one last question because he's got to go.
I like this. This is cool. It's like
we've got until November 8th, and we have a framework. We have a horse race going on.
Right.
All right, give us your analysis.
My analysis is that there is a lot of great things that I agree with Bernie Sanders on, and I would like to see him get the Democratic nomination. However, that being said, I also think that we have to break out of this two-party system. At the end of the day, I worry that Bernie will, and he stated he will if he doesn't get the nomination, pivot all his support to Hillary. I think that's a terrible idea. I think she and Trump and all the rest are a massive corporate-owned system, and I think we have got to start standing up outside of this two-party horse race. And even to get past even all of that, the man or woman who is president is not going to change the system that much. We live in what is called a deep state. There's a deep state that exists, and Bill Moyers talks about it. It's not that hidden an idea that you could put Bernie Sanders into the White House. He can't really stop the military-industrial complex. He could slow it down, but he can't stop it. He can't stop. The NSA is probably going to stay the same size or continue to grow. That solitary executive cannot change everything. And so we have to stand up on so many other levels, on local levels, on state levels. If you look at the amazing things that have happened in this country over the past 10 years, legalization of gay marriage in various states before it got done by the Supreme Court, legalizing marijuana in various states, it's on a local state level. It's people standing up in their areas. It cannot be all about this goddamn presidential race that has been going on for fucking 4 years,
I have nothing to add. He broke it down as well as anyone's going to hear it. Share this with other people. Make sure you watch Redacted Tonight every week. And Lee,
thank you, man. Thank you, guys.
By the way, he's not peaking. He's on an upward trajectory. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you guys for watching.